Life with Twilight, Chapter 1, written by Lonart8100, also known as me. So tell me about life. How do you live it? Play video games? Go out and hang with friends? Get a big honking paycheck and buy lots of shoes? Sounds like fun. Really, it does. You should consider yourself lucky to live such a life. 'Cause I sure as hell would. Every day, it's the same old thing. Wake up in this crummy old apartment, go to my college classes, spend about 20 hours per week at work, and then come home and do whatever I can until bedtime. Then I wake up and do the same thing the next day. After Mom and Dad died, my sister finished college and moved out to California, where she became an overnight success in the field of fashion design. That girl's so rich, I don't even know if she does work anymore. She's been wiring me money from across the country to help pay for the apartment and the rest of my college tuition. As long as I keep passing my classes, she'll keep providing the support. My other expenses are another matter, which is why I'm working part-time. It's really not a job I enjoy very much, but you gotta work if you want to eat. Problem is, in this economy, I just barely make enough in order to survive. I'd work more hours, but with my college schedule, I just can't. Really, I should consider myself lucky, as I know for a fact there are many people far worse off than me. Yet, I am not happy. This life wouldn't be so bad if only it were a little less lonely. I've never been much of a social guy, especially when it comes to meeting new people. Back in high school, I hardly talked to anyone, and nobody ever paid attention to me. I actually thought back then I wouldn't need anyone in life. I just buried myself in my large DVD and video game collection. But now, I regret that decision, as they no longer bring me the joy they once brought. Even worse, on my current salary, I'm lucky if I can even afford a single DVD per month. 2 if I don't eat out very much. I can't afford a video game console at all, and the limited income keeps me mostly bound to my apartment. I really feel like a complete loser who's isolated himself from the world around him. I'm now a prisoner of my own house, with no one to talk to but myself. The only thing that still brings me joy in life is the show My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. Thank God I at least have internet service, as I obviously can't afford cable stations like The Hub. I mostly watch the show online, and buy the episodes on iTunes. If only I could meet someone in this world who were more like the ponies in Equestria. They all seem so happy, and so relatable. As though they felt your pain before, and could tell you it'll be alright. In particular, I note the character Twilight Sparkle, who I relate to most of all. Just as I buried myself in my DVDs, she buried herself in her books, isolating herself from the world, not knowing what true friendship was. Then she went to Ponyville to stop an evil force, and everything changed. I often dream about having a similar scenario, where I go to Equestria and become friends with the other ponies, living an adventurous life where I could be happy. But that's a fool's dream. It's not real. Just a fictional place in a cartoon meant to entertain children. What am I thinking? Friday night comes. And it's another boring evening for me. I'm sure everyone on campus is out tonight, probably taking their loved ones to the new Twilight movie. I, on the other hand, am stuck here at home, alone, watching The Avengers yet again on my old DVD player. Unfortunately, I've seen it so many times that it's lost its charm. It would actually be fun to watch with someone else, and maybe try to find some kind of fatal flaw to joke about. But I don't even have that. I get up and stumble to the fridge, thinking that eating might at least entertain me a bit. That's when I suddenly feel a gust in the room, and everything starts blowing towards the center of my living room. Then, before I can react, there is a bright magenta light. It grows brighter and brighter until it finally blinds me. When it fades, I look into the living room and see a young, slender, Caucasian girl lying naked face down on the floor. Of course, I instantly start to blush. I mean, it's not every day that something like this happens. I have to admit, she's very beautiful from where I stand. Like an angel fallen from the heavens. Right into my living room. Yeah, this has gotta be a hallucination. I wonder if staring at the screen for so long messed up my eyesight. After rubbing my eyes, I find she's still there on the floor. So I try a more drastic approach and slap my face 5 times, only to find she's still there. Finally, I leave the room, close my eyes, and slam my head against my bedroom wall, all while telling myself there's nobody there. I then walk back into the living room, only to find she's still lying there. Okay, I can now officially confirm this is real. There's a naked girl lying on my floor. So I then try to figure out what to do next. As I sit there and think, I grab a nearby blanket and toss it over her back. I figured I'd best keep her warm, as it's nearly December and the thermostat's been malfunctioning as of late. I myself have been forced to wear a hoodie in my own living room. That's when I noticed something on her right hip. A mark of some kind. It looks like a big pink star with 6 sides, with many smaller white ones around it. In fact, it looked exactly like the cutie mark Twilight Sparkle has in the show. Could it be? I go back to my room and fetch my iPod, and then turn on one of the episodes that I purchased, paying close attention to Twilight's cutie mark. Sure enough, it's exactly the same, but I still deny it. This can't be Twilight Sparkle. There's just no way. And even if it is, why is she a human? Of course, then I notice her hair is dark blue, with a purple and pink streak on the front and back. I still refuse to believe it. She could just be a really good cosplayer who decided to drop into my house for reasons unknown. But how does that explain the bright magenta light? Before I have a chance to contribute any more thought, I hear a knock coming from the door. I go over and open it, covering the side of the girl with my body. It was my neighbor, asking what that loud sound was. I couldn't tell if she was talking about the bright light, or me slamming my head against the bedroom wall. But I couldn't let her in. What if she were to see the girl on the floor? It would raise a lot of awkward questions. Thinking fast, I tell her it's my microwave. It exploded and needs repair. She gives me a puzzled look, and then asks if she can come in and take a look at it. I continue to block her way, while saying it's a real mess, and I didn't want her to see it. While I try to get rid of my neighbor, the girl wakes up and starts to rise to her feet. After a series of false stories involving the microwave, I finally get the neighbor to leave. I close the door and immediately turn around to see the girl attempting to stand up, the blanket still hanging onto her shoulders. I see her legs trembling under her own weight as she desperately struggles to maintain her balance. She nearly straightens her position when her legs give out, causing her to fall forward. I quickly dart across the room and catch her in my arms, holding her up as her feet lie on the ground. "Careful," I say to her. "Are you okay?" She then opens her eyes and looks straight into mine. They're a gorgeous shade of purple. And I must say, I've never seen such beautiful eyes. Then again, who actually does have purple eyes?
Yes?
She says, her voice sounding exactly like Twilight Sparkle from the show. Here, it's kinda cold. Let's get you some clothes. Can you walk?
I don't know.
She says, grunting as she attempts to stand on her own. I then pull her arm over my shoulder, and she takes baby steps forward, with me supporting her so that she doesn't fall again. She struggles with each step, as though no one ever taught her how to walk on two legs before, though she gradually makes progress as we move along our path. As we walk, I notice she has another mark on her left hip, which is just like the one on her right. The evidence was really piling up, all pointing to this being the real Twilight Sparkle. But I still just wouldn't accept it. It made no sense at all. Finally, we reach the spare bedroom. My sister stays here whenever she comes to town, and even leaves some clothes behind as she does come by on a regular basis. I then let her go, and find she's at least able to stand on her own. I then grab her a magenta-colored hoodie and some sweatpants. "Here, you can change into these," I say, as I toss them into her hands. "And there's some undergarments in the drawers behind you." I then head for the door, but the girl asks,
Excuse me?
before I can leave the room. "What?" I respond.
Change?
She asks. "Yeah, put the clothes on.
Clothes?
The things I just gave you. Put them on."
How?
"You're kidding." She shakes her head. I let out a deep groan. I know I'm not gonna like this. Well, let me run you through it real quick. I avoid looking at her bare naked body, which made for a very awkward instructional moment. Using my own body as a visual example, I pointed out what the pants and hoodie were and how to put them on. I didn't bother going for any underwear, as I don't know how to describe it without undressing. And a bra? Don't even get me started. My sister is coming into town next week for her annual holiday stay. Maybe she can help me out with that stuff. While it wasn't easy, I did manage to get her dressed without actually making physical contact. I then help her over to the table, and she even makes the last few steps on her own. I then make us some tea and sit down at the table with her. She takes a sip and winds up burning her upper lip, which I actually find kind of funny. I chuckle a bit, only to receive a puzzled look from my guest, before ultimately apologizing to her. I then get down to business and ask a whole lot of questions. Who she is, where she's from, what's she doing here, etc. But all my questions go unanswered, as she can't remember anything prior to waking up. This, of course, puts me in somewhat of a tough spot with what to do with her. Do I send her away, or let her stay here? I'd hate to kick her out when she has no memory of whom she is or where to go, but I also don't have much money to support a roommate. I can obviously tell she's not from around here, given her strange characteristics and the fact that she teleported into my living room. Reluctantly, I decide to let her stay with me, and if the neighbors ask, I could just tell them that she's a new student who needs a roommate. She does appear about the same age as me, after all. I let her have the spare bedroom. She can use the clothes in there until I can afford to get her some new ones. Heck, maybe my sister will pitch in for the holidays. Before she goes to bed, I tell her she'll need a name.
A name?
She asks, as though intrigued I would give her such a thing. Yeah, something to call you, I respond. Maybe Twilight Sparkle. I quickly cover my mouth. I didn't mean to say it out loud. It's just this whole theory of mine is really getting to me,
That's a cute name. I like it.
she says with a smile. You do? I ask with a confused look. Just then, she wraps her arms around me and thanks me for the name and clothes. My heart beats loudly. I've never really had a girl hug me before. My instincts tell me to hug her back. And actually, I really want to. My arms get into position, but I resist, as I hardly know this girl or how long she'll be here. Uh, yeah, I say under my breath. You're welcome. Then she separates from me and asks me what my name is with a smile. Let me tell you, I thought her eyes were beautiful, but that smile just takes the cake. I mean, I've seen the girls at school smile, but not like this. It was so cute and so enchanting that there was just no way I could ignore the question. Ty, I say to her. Ty Bantley,
Ty Bantley.
she repeats, before smiling even wider and cocking her head.
That's a nice name.
Yeah, I say, still smitten by her cute smile. It is. Now, you've had a bit of a rough night, so I think you need some sleep. I then guide her to the bed and cover her up with the sheets. Then I turn off the light and look back at her. I find she's already asleep, and even then, she wears that cute smile. It was as though she had nothing to fear and felt perfectly safe here with me. I then closed the door and let out a huge sigh of relief. I gotta admit, she's really cute. And I could fall for her. But I can't let myself get too attached. She's only staying here until I can find out where to send her. Then everything will go back to normal. I don't know for sure if she is the real Twilight Sparkle. The evidence says yes, but the logic says no. How can a cartoon character be real? And if so, why take on a form different than the original show? I'm not sure, but whether or not she is the real Twilight, she's a lost human girl with no memory of who she is. She needs my help, and I'll give it to her. Only time will tell otherwise.